Now, you've made the case that more should be spent initially so that the buildings are disaster-proof, but obviously there will be a trade-off if there is not more available. What should the priorities be?
I believe the physical infrastructure that has gone down now in reconstruction is the commercial life of a country like Haiti. So if I can say so, in the soft areas, I believe the important thing is to quickly recreate jobs, to ensure that the society keeps working again. Haiti has some very specific problems in almost entirely destroyed environment since many years, with deforestation, severe water problems. And rebuilding Haiti is not only the physical infrastructure, it's also these aspects very significant. In terms of the physical infrastructure, of course the public buildings, I would say getting kids back to school, very significant. Getting the social infrastructure functioning, be it clinics, primary health care centers and hospitals, everywhere where people need to go. And then, people have nowhere to live now. They are, as you said, sitting in open areas. They have no shelter. Tents are on offer now, I suspect increasingly. But the huge challenge for all of us, for the government of Haiti, for the communities, for the Red Cross, for civil society organizations who are all ready to help, is how do you solve the temporary problem of housing until you can find permanent and better quality solutions. So the better quality solutions, hopefully, I think we can commit to all trying to influence that. But while that happens, it's this issue of temporary housing, which is in fact a social challenge.
And if money is spent on building back better, in the words of Bill Clinton, building stronger, safer buildings, you're talking about a 10% increase on the cost. But if those buildings don't fall down, how much is that likely to save governments in the future?
It will save millions and millions of dollars, but more importantly, it will save lives, it will save social stability, it will save the possibility of economic development.
Thank you. Bruno Hagerbart, International Disaster Risk Consultant. You're concerned that unless action is taken to safeguard the vulnerable, then we run the risk of a disaster within a disaster. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Okay, I think that's very true. There is need for including risk reduction ideas already in the early recovery phase, which is going to start very soon. In June, actually in 5 months' time, the next hurricane season is due, and in 2008, Haiti was hit by 4 storms, which killed several hundred people and affected tens of thousands of them. I think it's really crucial that this factor is taken into account when temporary solutions or transitional shelter is set up, and that a risk analysis is taking place when the government decides, or the UN agencies and the Red Cross decides to create large tent camps, that these places are not going to be flooded, not going to be heavily affected by wind forces, not going to be affected by landslides. And I was actually discussing with Matthew, and some of these locations are actually quite exposed to storms, and I think we should look a little bit more ahead and not just focus on the earthquake, but also on the more recurring risks that these people are facing. And I'm very much afraid that if a hurricane force 4 or 5 strikes the Port-au-Prince capital, that will be a disaster within a disaster, and many people will be either flooded and tents will be destroyed. And so I think we should work towards a quick long-term solution, a robust solution. And as we discussed also, there's need for maybe rebuilding the shelters according to international standards, storm shelters, so that people can seek refuge there in case the country is affected by heavy storms this year. And there's hardly any left now. So.
Obviously, there's a tension here between short-term shelter and long-term prevention. How do you square that?
I think, there's definitely a tension in terms of how to build, but in terms of where to build, I mean, doing a proper risk analysis of the sites, I think this can be done, I mean, tomorrow. And I just had discussions with other Red Cross colleagues that we shouldn't try to inform our response and relief colleagues and maybe join them in an assessment and look at the environment, talk to the local people about the risks, and then tell them this place could be a trap for people. I mean, given the fact that there's so much debris, there's so much, all the drainage systems are blocked. I mean, just imagine the force a flood can have on this population in the tent camps, which are barely protected against these forces. So I clearly see and it's not rocket science, it's just, I mean, you just look at the environment, you just assess what the impact has been in the past, and you just try to influence the decision making. Because once a tent camp is set up, it's very hard to move it. And once you have a certain infrastructure in terms of water, in terms of sanitation, it's very hard to upgrade it and improve it. So I think we should definitely learn from these lessons and avoid the disaster in the disaster, which is a quite rare combination of an earthquake and a hurricane, which does not often happen in that way. But I think we can learn from our mistakes in the past and do things better.
Thank you.